Good Monday morning, people. So, before we get started, I've been forgetting to say all of the stuff. You guys know what to do: like, subscribe, comment, share. We're gonna talk about the coffee virus vaccine this morning, and just a little bit. I have questions. ScienceMag.org. Absolutely remarkable. No one who got Moderna's vaccine in trial developed severe COVID 19. Okay. I need to see the data, but reading their report. So here's what it says. Continuing the spate of stunning news about COVID vaccines, the biotech company Moderna announced the final results of the 30,000 person efficacy trial for its candidate in a press release today. Only 11 people who received 2 doses of the vaccine developed COVID 19 symptoms after being infected, versus 185 symptomatic cases in the placebo group. That's an efficacy of 94.1%. Moderna's candidate also had 100% efficacy, against severe disease. There were 0 such cases among those vaccinated, but 30 in the placebo group. The company plans to file for an EUA, emergency use authorization, for its vaccine in the U.S. with the FDA. Whew. Okay. So let's just back up here. 30,000 people, and what you would expect, or what I would expect at least, is that they would split this up. 15,000 people would get placebo. 7,500 would get 1 dose of the vaccine. 7,500 would get 2. I don't know how they split it up though, because I haven't seen the data, and as far as I can tell, the study hasn't been released anywhere. However, from their reporting, if you just split it in half, 15K in your control group with placebo, 15K in your vaccine group, in total, less than 200 people developed symptoms. And even if that's not how they, directly how they split it up, in the placebo group, only 185 developed symptoms. You figure there's at least 15K in the placebo group, but let's be generous and say there's only 10K in the placebo group. Even 5K, less than 200 people develop symptoms. What in the world is going on here? How many questions does this raise? So Dr. Fauci put out this statement, and he says that about 30%, 33% of the U.S., somewhere in there, is going to come down with COVID, gonna experience COVID, contract it. About 100 million people will contract it. A lot of people are going to die from it, or at least get blamed. The virus plus comorbidities is going to kill a lot of people. Yes. Same thing happens with the flu every year. Flu season sucks because people with comorbidities get severe cases and end up hospitalized, and some die. I don't want to minimize the people dying. There's no need to discount people who contract this virus and then die, whatever the reason for it being. There's no reason to minimize that. Of course not. But in this vaccine trial, let's bring this back around. In this vaccine trial, we're talking about 1% or less developed symptoms. Why are we rushing to vaccinate for this? Should we vaccinate? Probably. We want to stop the spread. But it seems like what's going to happen is we're going to reach herd immunity faster than a vaccine could be distributed, and give us some sort of immunity to it. I don't understand why we're doing all of the things we're doing. We're looking at a second lockdown. If Joe Biden gets in office, his advisors have already put out the information. They want a 6-week lockdown. They want this to happen. So you gotta ask, with less than 1% of people in a controlled study directly infected with the virus developing symptoms, what is the goal? I don't know. I really don't. And a lot of people want to point to conspiracy theories. A lot of people want to point to the destruction of the economy, the control, the transfer of wealth is an interesting one because it's actually happening. All your small businesses get shut down during lockdowns. Who stays open? Large corporations, your Amazons, your Walmarts, your large corporations that can set up on-site like grab and go stuff, i.e. you're shopping online and then picking up from Walmart, or that can set up massive delivery chains or have them already, i.e. Amazon. We're seeing that. That's a real thing. I'm reminded of Utopia. The TV series Utopia. I heard Tim Pool talk about it repeatedly, and I had to look into it. And it's crazy. It's crazy how how appropriate it is for this situation. I'm not going to take the vaccine right away. I'm not. And I'm not going to let my kid take the vaccine right away. But for millions of people, hundreds of thousands at least, the vaccine is not a choice. In Washington, D.C., the city of D.C., they just recently passed into law or passed legislation that says they can vaccinate your children without parental consent. There's arguments throughout the media that teenagers, as kids as old as 10 all the way up to the age of 18, should be able to decide for themselves if they want to be vaccinated for various things. The only thing I'm seeing, the only thread I'm seeing connecting all of this, besides the economic thread, the transfer of wealth from the lower and middle class to the elites, is this overarching government control that's removing not individual freedoms, but individual rights. Your right to decide for your kids what's best. Your right to decide for yourself. There's a big question right now, and I'll leave you guys with this. There's a big question right now, and an example that's given as to the vaccine itself. And what they're arguing, what the left primarily is arguing, is that right now our country is like a boat. And just because you go in your room and drill a hole in the boat doesn't mean it doesn't affect anybody else. Okay, I see what you're saying. But on the other hand, our country is not like a boat. Our country is more like an island. And if you go in your tent and drill a hole through your floor, who does that affect? That affects the whole island because you're causing problems, sure. But really, should you have the freedom to do so? You're not going to sink the island. This country, if 100 million people decide not to get vaccinated for the coronavirus, this country is not going to go under. It's not. However, they're arguing that it will because of your actions. Meanwhile, your government is off on some remote part of the island, setting a fire to everything that grows. That's your small businesses, your medium sized businesses, everything that's going to be locked down. But they're telling you to worry about the guy who's digging a hole under the floor in his tent, his teepee, his cabana, whatever you want to call it. I don't know, boys and girls. This is crazy. And these numbers to me make me question why we're worried about this. The argument's going to come up that, well, more people are going to die because hospitals are going to be overwhelmed. Somebody was telling me today that their hospital is running at like 90% capacity, 95% capacity. And I have to question, do you know that that's normal? Do you know that hospitals normally run at 85 to 95% capacity? The problem with COVID patients is the amount of time that they're in, because they have to be in a room for at least 2 weeks. Your average ICU patient is there 3 to 5 days, 7 days max. So I understand that there's a real reason that we don't want a lot of COVID patients being hospitalized. It does jam up the system, it does. But in this, a 30,000 person trial, only 185 symptomatic cases were in the placebo group. That should tell you everything you need to know about this virus. Are those 185 people in trouble? Yes. Do they need help? Yes. Should we have a vaccine? Yes, of course. We have one for the flu. Yes. Let's have some treatments and some vaccinations available. But should we destroy our economy? Should we allow the government to trample our rights, our individual liberties and freedoms, because less than 1% of people are going to be sick? That's all I got for today, boys and girls. I will catch you guys tomorrow.